the films themselves. So just talk us through the process of the idea of making the film, and y'all can both tell us about your experiences about going on a platform as big as that, where y'all were mentored by some really big names. So let's hear it from y'all from the beginning.
I found out about Take 10. Film Companion had started this initiative in partnership with Netflix, and they wanted like 10-minute long stories from all over the country, and they were encouraging people to write films which were rooted in their spaces and their languages. And I made my graduation film a year before Salt here in Goa, and it was like my family and friends and everyone was very supportive, but it was quite a challenge to raise the funds. So I thought I would never make a Konkani short film again, or at least for a long time, But then here there was an opportunity which was asking me to do exactly that. And I saw a post by Neeraj Ghavan, who I follow on Instagram. So and a lot of my friends are also filmmakers. So we all decided that we would apply for this, and whoever, like even if one of us made it, we agreed that we would all help them make the film. And like that's how it kind of happened. 4 of us, I think, applied for the program, and luckily for me, I got through in the top 10. And for me, a part of this story was already with me, and the deadline for submitting a synopsis for this was very short, and I thought it worked in the home theme. So I decided to kind of make this this film. Yeah.
You've collected your thoughts in the meantime? Yes, please.
So similar. So the theme that we were given for this last stage was home, for which we had to present a synopsis. And I had actually written this film to be a little longer film, because we actually had another feature ready that we have written, but it had all the things that a producer would say no to at the start, like a Konkani, period film, set in monsoon. You say all the things that a producer doesn't want to hear, basically. So I thought, okay, maybe if I can't take up something so big, let me write something as a proof of concept that is probably set in the similar cinematic space, but is little achievable. But this I wrote during lockdown. I didn't know when I would make it, how I would make it. So the story of the band existed. It was a much longer film. It was at least 10 more pages of the script. So when this competition came and the theme of home came, I sort of just rewrote that script to, home was one of the subliminal themes, and it became the main theme after that. So that's how the story came about, and like the blind chance like we got to make this, that is like the real, because I remember at the top, because I think there were 2-3 rounds of filtering, so there was 1,500, then 200, then 50, then 20, then 10. So every stage you had to present something different. So at the 50th stage, I think we had to give like an online presentation, and
throughout it was about one film that you had.
Yeah. So in the first step, we had to submit a 2-minute film on the theme of My India and the synopsis of the film you want to ultimately make. These were the first criterias. But in the top 50 stage, they had asked us to pitch the film to a panel of curators, and this was supposed to be done online. So they said, okay, you have 30 minutes a session, exactly 17 or 18 minutes you get to talk, and the rest will be like a Q&A. And I was on another shoot that time. So, and suddenly we were told that we have to go to Mysore to shoot. And now I don't have an internet connection. I don't have anything. So I go on Twitter and I'm like, can anybody lend me their internet connection? And I was in between a shoot, and we had to prepare the pitch. So I had no time between shoots. So then what I would do is we would do one lighting setup. Then while they're taking the shot, I would go to another room, prepare my pitch, again go back, again do this. And then I quickly ran away from the shoot, gave my presentation, and I came back to the set. So it was just like a frantic, like a blind chance, you could say. So that's how we basically pitched the film, and we had to sort of give up the milieu, and how are we visualizing the film, who are we seeing as the cast, what are the locations like, what is our access like to the story itself. So they wanted to know all that before even we get into the writing stage. So then basically we ended up making the film. Yeah.
Right. So I mentioned that Suyash studied at SRFTI. Barkha has also studied filmmaking in Prague, which he's completed a course now. So talk us about actually making the film then, from getting shortlisted in the top 10 to starting the work. And again, when you all say you all pitched it to people, talk us about some people that you all had to pitch it to also.
We had to pitch the film to the selection committee of Film Companion, and luckily for me, my schedule wasn't as hectic as Suyash's, so I was quite relaxed and kind of in the headspace to pitch and present, and like my pitch went quite smoothly. Like whatever questions they had, I could answer, so it was fine, but. I think I'm very like emotional a little bit about the whole about the making of this film. I had a very solid crew in place, and when I say solid, they're not really like trained filmmakers. My art team was two of my friends who studied fine arts, but I had worked with them on my previous project, and they were amazing. So I had them, and my friend had produced my graduation film, which I'd shot the year before. So he was there to help me. My cinematographer I had worked with. Everyone, basically, like I had a lot of friends and family kind of helping me make this film. And I think all of them were so happy and so excited that, I'd made it to take 10, that they were like they were also very emotionally a part of this process, and for them also it was like, oh, we're making this film, so for each one it was like their film. And even before I decided that this is the story that I wanted to pitch, because I'd gone through a bit of a hassle before, I was very practical about it this time. I was like, okay, I'm going to get 7 lakhs. I have to figure out like minimum number of characters, minimum number of locations, because I wouldn't get too much time in pre-production. So I want to make sure that I have very little to do, but whatever I have to do, I can actually devote like enough time to it, and that really worked out for me because I did have enough time to kind of then look at locations and find like the best house I could, or find the best pharmacy that I could. So yeah, that was and like my family and friends really helped. Like my father is playing the pharmacist, and my mom played one of the customers, and my uncle is playing the father. So yeah, so it was a lot of like love and help and support from friends and family.
I think as proud as they are of making it, and there's very good reason to be. Even when I first heard that 2 out of 10, I mean, and by the way, I've known these not through family connections or anything. I've known these when they were students pretty much, just because of the love for cinema. So even when they were in school, I remember you were called to give some talk in Kala Academy with a lot of people over there, and she was like a small little girl that time. Even Suyash, and I've known them purely for their love for cinema. And when I saw their names, I was so very happy. I immediately messaged Anupama Chopra, that I said, wow, 2 out of 10 you've got from, our Goa. So she said, yes, they did very well, blah, 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 that kind of thing. But it was a very proud moment for all of us, because as I said, Goan cinema has never seen this kind of heights, where people have made it nationally in that sense. So we've been making films from 50, when the first film was released, Mogatsa Audo. For 11, 12 years, there was no film after that. The second Goan film in that sense came only after Liberation. So from the first one. So there was like almost 12, 13-year gap between making films. Historically, there are only 2 Goan films, Goan productions, I would say. I'm not sure if I can call them Goan films, but 2 Goan productions which have made it to the top tier festivals. The top tier festivals being Cannes, Venice, Berlin, and Toronto. So historically, only 2 films. One is Paltorso Manis, which went to Toronto, 2006 that was. And the other was Thalpuran, which is a Goan production, but not by a Goan director in that sense, strictly speaking, which went to Berlin in 2020, early 2020. Apart from that, no film has really made it internationally. Sainath's Vagro made it to the short film corner at the Cannes Film Festival, which is again a big thing in its own right, because if it was easy, there would have been many other films. The fact that it's the first film means it's, relatively difficult. And then suddenly to see 2 young filmmakers to, make it to the top 10 in India is it was something to be very proud of. And again, now, as you can see in their work itself, that it is as good as you would see anywhere else in the sense. The problem in many of the Goan films, with due respect to them, was the style of storytelling. Here everything is, as in cinema, as they say, the basic rule, show, don't tell. So as you can see in both their films, there is lots of visual storytelling, and visual always leaves so much to interpretation depending on your sensibility. You could see something, somebody else would see something in it in the same scene, and probably you must have seen something which you didn't even think of. I'll give you all an example. There was a film called, I'm telling you all this because she told that we have 1 hour, so you know. So there's a film called Manners of Dying, which is based on a short story by Jan Martel. Jan Martel is the guy who wrote Life of Pi. He's more famous for that. So Manners of Dying is basically about a man who's going to be hanged the next day, and the jailer has to write a letter to the family as to what happened on the previous day. So the jailer starts writing, he woke up in the morning, he was very, very angry, and then it will cut to what actually happened. So that scene will go on for 10-12 minutes that he was angry, he fought with the people, blah, 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 blah. And then it cuts back to the jailer again writing, he woke up in the morning, he was very, very sad. So again the story will start, he's sad, 10-15 minutes of that. Again it will cut to, he woke up in the morning, he was very, very quiet. So this goes on for about 10-12 different scenarios. Same thing. And people are like, okay, what's next, what's next, what's next? So the same thing is being repeated again and again, which is again, he's thinking what is the best way to convey to the family that this man is, you know, what was his last day like? Should I write he was happy? Should I write he was sad? Should I write whatever? So after that, you know, interesting film. So there was a Q&A and the assistant director was present for the screening. And somebody said, you know, you showed this in the film and this, did you mean that some philosophical thing he said? And that assistant director scratched his beard and said, maybe that's what we were trying to say. You know, so many times you can have, and that's again a great piece of art is where you create something which can have multiple, you know, interpretations. So in both their films, again, as I was saying that, you know, one of the things is it's of immense help that both have studied filmmaking. So there is a certain sense of aesthetics, there's a certain sensibility in their storytelling. And again, both their films, what I loved is, you know, the visual storytelling, the attention to detail, salt as a metaphor. I don't know if you've noticed, even the man in the COVID PPE kit walking behind in the stairs. Did you notice that? The first time I didn't notice it, but the second time. So when the hotel guy is talking, you know, there's a shot there where he says, okay, play some Goan music. And the woman starts nodding her head, assuming his wife or whoever that is, and the man there. So in the background, you can see a man walking up in the PP kit, and good editing because in the next shot, or rather, he's walking down the staircase in his PP kit. So maybe small attention to detail, and again, visual storytelling, just the shot of those clothes lying on the beach there. You know, they convey so many things. The first thought is, okay, have they jumped into the river or something? You know, because all the clothes are lying there. So, you know, the visual storytelling was, you know, absolutely fantastic. Now, as young filmmakers, how do you leave behind what you have seen or what you have been taught, in the sense that, you know, we all watch up growing certain kind of films, so that influence is always there. So how do you find your own little voice while making a film, even if it's a short film?
It's I think going to film school largely helped, and also I must acknowledge this, that it's very this, because back in 2010 or whatever, we were still studying here. I mean, and Sachin sir's reviews were like our first gateway to like good films. So I have to thank him for that. Like, he started us embarking our journey on watching more sensible films, because I think Navin times we used to look for his review of any film that is released. So yeah, so you start by watching different films, I guess, and the sensibility starts developing. But the problem is that sometimes the influence is a little excess, so you tend to mimic. So, but I think the only way to grow out of it is to make more films and realize, okay, that's not where you come from, or that's your style, or maybe you're just trying to do something different. Like with this film, I was just trying to see if I can hold the camera and let the drama happen within it. Like, most of the scenes are just one take, or they're very long, and that was just something you wanted to try. Also because there was certain musicality to the whole film. So the sense of rhythm, actually, entire form came from that sense of rhythm. So it's like you have to try and be honest to the process somehow, but it's very difficult to say how much of it is influence and how much it's not. Because I clearly have my influences in there. I mean, I have filmmakers like Roy Anderson who I look up to, or like those influences do stay. I don't know how to remove them. But I think you have to be able to bring a certain honesty of how you see the world, or where does your humor, where does it come from? Does it come from observation, or where does it come from? I think those questions are more important, and for that I think you need to look more inward. I think so. Even in terms of like she was talking about the process. Even I worked with a crew that was entirely like a very inexperienced crew. My production designer hadn't come on a film set before this. He's my neighbor. He was into art, and he just 3 days before the film, I was panicking. I didn't have an art director. I called him. He said, "I'm coming," and he was there, and he did a fantastic job because we had such calculated palette, and it had to be extremely like visually. It had to have a certain harmony, and you have the music which was composed was entirely done from scratch because we had copyright issues. We had to compose even that old Konkani song that plays is also we made it from scratch. We wrote the lyrics, we had composed it in a certain manner because of copyright issues. And there are
If you're given a choice, you would have played some Lorna song and asked them to play a Lorna
so
song.
we did ask yeah, she has read the script before I made it. So of course I had written a Lorna song, and then I asked about the copyright money, and I'm like, okay, let's move on. I think I'll probably raise another Lorna in that budget. I don't know, but so copyright was a big problem, and then so there are small Easter eggs like in that when we thought of making that music. We realized how can we still personalize it. So then we realized like the olden Konkani songs always had a like a pronunciation for the beating of the heart, right? Like there is Kai is bung pang pang or piti 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 or so. My lyricist Omkar Rege, he said why not have a ode to that? So he made this Kai is dum pom pom. So there are these small things like these are influences, but you make them your own and then you present as something else. So you don't know how to really separate the process, but I think it happens organically if you keep making it again and again, and somewhere you'll find your own thing in it maybe.
Right. I mean, you spoke about the camera work, which is very clear. Most of the time, you have static shots. Only one place I noticed there's almost like a whip pan is when they're throwing the stuff out of the house, where it cuts, not cuts, but it just pans between back and forth between the bandwalas and their home. But there's another interesting story of how sometimes you have to make do with your resources that you have. There is this great Australian filmmaker, he's Dutch origin but Australian, called Rolf De Heer, Rolfdeher. He was very fascinated by cinema. He's still alive, he still makes movies. He didn't have enough money to make movies. So how do you start then? So he used to work for a film company, and his job was just to transfer the reels. Those days you have celluloid reels from one room to another and maintain them and keep them. So he earned some money from it. So now how he started writing a story. So what story can he write with that much money? Okay, how about if I keep a man in a house who never steps out? So the whole drama will be inside the house, right? He lives with his mom and in the house, so he doesn't have to shoot outside. 2 characters, ज़्यादा पैसा लगेगा नहीं, हो जाएगा. So he starts shooting, writes the story, shoots every weekend when he gets the money. Then he got some more money because he got a promotion in his job. Okay, now I have more money. Now what can I do? Okay, let's take him out of the house now. Now I have more money. I can shoot outside. Right? So he takes him outside and shoots, and it's a very crazy film. The film is called Bad Boy Bubby. Bad Boy Bubby. It was shown at IFFI. He was actually the chairman of the IFFI jury. That's when I met him and heard all these stories about how innovative one can be with the resources. He made a film called The Quiet Room. Now, whom do you act? Quiet Room is about a little girl who hears these fights between their parents. So what influence it has on her. So he shot a little bit of Quiet Room, realized that his daughter is not very good at dialogue delivery. Now what do you do then? Make her mute. She can't speak. Right? So the dialogues are just going on in her head. So there's a voiceover which conveys the dialogues. Simple solution. So, I'm sure you all also have, you have to make do with whatever you have. It's a neighbor to neighbor. Okay. But I think at the end of the day, what matters is, your passion for cinema and, how you want to go about it. There are great stories of how Kurosawa was always the first to come on the sets, and there are many photos of it actually sweeping the set, cleaning the set. And Kurosawa, when he was at his prime, he didn't have to. But still to stay rooted, to know exactly what is happening. Just the other day at the film club, we showed a film by Ozu, again another great Japanese filmmaker. So when I told the people who were watching it that even the signboards that you see, there are a lot of shots of streets which have bars there in Japan, so at least in the film. So there are a lot of bar signs there. Every sign has been designed by Ozu himself. And every cup, saucer, plate, even if you see a bottle in the shot there, it has been kept there by the director himself. It's not incidental that it has come and fallen there, somebody just kept it there, So again, it's the passion for cinema to get those details right. And so much so that there's a 500 book called The Poetics of Ozu's Cinema, just with attention to these details over his career. So anyway, coming back to the film. So the experiences like that he shared. What about you? I love the way you also kind of tried not to move the camera much, tried to keep out of static shots, and let the visuals speak. For themselves. Did you all have some kind of mentoring also when you wrote these scripts?
We did have it was a part of the whole program that we would get workshops from many extremely talented and respected film professionals from the industry. We had a workshop with Kabir Khan, Shakun Batra, Jay Oza, Jaideep Pahlawat, Abhishek Chaubey, Neeraj Ghavan. There were Tiska Chopra, many.
Covered all the departments of filmmaking. One screenwriting, camera, production design, sound.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, post production also. Everything was kind of covered. But I think specifically that steady shot style. I think. It started off I started with it in Prague again because of budget and number of crew members ka restriction. But then it's kind of become I enjoy it a lot now, and it worked for this particular script, which is why we worked with it. There is slight movement, there is a pan towards the end when they are coming closer, but it was I could have probably afforded a panther or something here, but it wasn't necessary.
Yeah, but I think it's also true that I don't know. It's something I'm just thinking about myself also. Is that I think aesthetics, or what we call voice, often comes out of restrictions more than thought. It's an afterthought that it's a voice, but I think when you're making it, it's more out of okay, I have. I don't know who says it, but it's I think it's Fincher. He says filmmaking is about I have to take 5 shots and the sun is setting down. How do I then it's the problem with it is we only discuss it as an art form, but it's much more a practical and a logistical and a people management job, and that's such a huge part of making films is just managing the logistics, and none of that will ever show in the film. It's just a pain, not a pain, it's just something you have to live with so that you can tell yourself you did a great job. But if it doesn't reflect a good film, bad film, doesn't matter how you made it. But then that is equally a part of the process. So aesthetics sometimes just comes out of very logistical problems. Maybe how Lars von Trier had the dogmas, the whole dogma movement where they said, okay, they're written in stone that we'll do this. Paisa to nahi hai, to yahi karna padega. And then out of that is certain kind of films born. So maybe if that's an answer to making films in a place like Goa, I don't know, where their resources are limited.
And who knows? I mean, many times out of limited resources, great work comes out. Look at Iranian cinema. Yeah. They can't show this, they can't do this, they can't talk about this, but their films everybody talks about them because they do best what they do. But there are 2 classic examples of, using resources. So there is this Kurosawa film called Ram. Again, a period film. So it's set, once upon a time, long ago. So there is this one particular shot of it where a lot of critics have dissected it. What a great shot, what great camera placement there, and how the cavalry comes from the other side. So they asked Kurosawa, how did you think of that shot? And you must have done blah blah blah. So Kurosawa said, look, if my camera was 1 inch to the left, you would have seen the Sony factory. And if my camera was 1 inch to the right, you would have seen the railway station. So I couldn't afford that shot anyway. It had to be there. There is no great thinking, but just I had to keep the camera there because I couldn't have kept it anywhere else. You would have seen those things. So but again, that's great piece of art. He thought okay, why not put it here? There is this other Kannada filmmaker, and I would strongly urge you all to watch his films. Unfortunately, on second thoughts, his films are not streaming anyway. You'll have to go to UK to watch his films. His name is Prithvi Konanur, who's made 3 films so far. One is called Railway Children, which is streaming on Channel 4 in UK. The other one is Pinky Ellie, which has an international distributor. Both these films have not been picked up by anyone in India. And that's the sad state of affairs, that the film is streaming in UK. The second one has an international distributor, and the third one hopefully will come. The third one is called Hadi Lentu, which premiered in India during IFFI. It was the opening film of the Indian Panorama. Now Pinky Ellie, just to give you all an example, it's a film which is based on a true story, and which he read a report in Bangalore that a lot of couples, middle class couples also, they leave their baby at home with the maid. The report was about how the maid, after the couple leaves, the maid goes to a signal and stands with the baby and begs for money. And before the couple comes home, she comes back. So something happened where the baby went missing. And he's made a film on this. So guess what he does? He doesn't have budget. He's made that film probably for 20-25 lakhs. So he uses a real life maid. And that real life maid, Pinky Ali, was shown at Indian Panorama. That maid walked down the red carpet and attended a press conference. I mean, it was such a moving sight to see, And again, what a great filmmaker in that sense. So we had invited him at the film club, the Cinephile Film Club, for a screening. We showed Railway Children as well as Pinky Ali. And during the Q&A, everybody was asking, oh, you did not use background music. Paisa nahi tha. Oh, the color is not very the same. Paisa nahi tha. For nothing he had money, but yet he's made these fantastic films. And all three of them premiered at the Busan Film Festival. In fact, this year he had Hadi Lento at the festival, and he's written another script which was in the market at the festival. So again, using your limited resources, you can still tell a story, and sometimes having restricted resources also helps in some ways to come up with something great. Yes, so coming back to the question, who produces Goan films? Right, so primarily it is, first of all, we don't make too many feature films in Goa. So again, that's why, it's a matter of great pride, and I would say a golden era. I hope you'll get a lot of money to make feature films very, very soon. Win a lottery or something. Or somebody comes up. Again, the question is how much money is enough? This man sitting in Bangalore makes films for 25-30 lakhs, and it kind of works out. So you don't need a lot of money, but you need that some money. So where does that some money come from? So primarily, I feel, at least personally, for a state like Goa, it has to be the state which supports you. And how much money are we talking about? 2 to 3 crores. If you have like a scheme in place where you select 5 filmmakers, give them 50-60 lakh rupees each. So 5, 6, 5 are 33 crores. Right? The budget for IFFI this year was almost 30 crores plus for a film festival. In excess of 30 crores. But 3 crores we are saying is give filmmakers, 5 filmmakers. A team may to bargain karke yaar 1-2 pe to aaja, but give some money to our filmmakers. So right now, as things stand, there is a film finance scheme by the Goa government, which gives you 50% subsidy or 50 lakh rupees, whichever is lower. Right? So if you make a film for 1 crore, you get 50 lakhs. If you make a film for 2 crores, you still get 50 lakhs. If you make a film for 50 lakhs, you'll get 50%, which is 25 lakhs. Right? Now, if you want to make a decent film, say with lots of, a nice color grading, sound, etc., maybe it might push up to 80 lakhs or a crore at least. Now, the question is, where do you get the other 30-40 lakhs from? You'll get the 50 lakhs from the government. 2017, ma'am, yeah. 2017. Yeah, there are some films which are stuck because I was in the ESG committee at that time. So we had cleared most of them till 2017. There were some, again, these things have to be simplified and made it easy for everybody. In fact, Mr. Parikar, when he was the CM, he said, okay, let's refurbish this whole thing again. Because my question was, and the second thing which I had personally proposed is let's encourage filmmakers. We had cleared toilet bills of around 60-70 lakh rupees for IFFI, by the way. The toilets that are put up during IFFI, they cost quite a lot. So I said, why can't we give 10-20 lakh rupees a year to young filmmakers? Give 5 lakh rupees. 5 lakh is a substantial money. For anybody who's made a short film in Goa will know that 5 lakhs is a substantial money. Given by what they have now, it's better than nothing at least, So you choose 4-5 filmmakers, you have 15-20 lakh rupees, you give them that, start encouraging them. You put a couple of crores to make films. If it's a really good film, why can't you finance 100% of it? But as she said, for last 6 years at least, so the rule, by the way, is if I make 1 crore film, so if I made a 1 crore film in 2017, till date I have not got a single penny back. So you can calculate the interest or whatever I would have earned, or if I have to pay or whatever. So it's a loss-making proposition. But there is a flip side to it as well. How many Goan people go and watch Goan movies? Or people living in Goa, I won't say Goans, but people living in Goa, a very small fraction. If you take 200 rupees ticket, less than 5% people go and watch movies in a theatre. So we can't just blame the government that they're not doing enough. In many cases, the people are also not doing enough for whatever reason. So if you take 200 rupees ticket, given our population is 15 lakh, not even 5% people go and watch it. Otherwise, we would have got at least 20 lakh rupees out of that. But ask any Goan filmmaker who has screened a film in any theater here, they don't even get that kind of response. Of course, somebody might say Nazi or Kompasar is still running. That is an exception. That is not a rule. It's like Bradman with an average of 99.6. Tendulkar comes to 52, 53. He's still Tendulkar, but his average is still 52, 53. So Nazi or Kompasar is like the Bradman. It's in a league of its own, but the rest are all down there. But a film like Jizo also, which I thought was a brilliant film. How many people saw it? Hardly anybody has seen it. So it's a tricky proposition. We can't just blame the government for not doing enough. The people are also not doing enough. That brings me to the question: as young filmmakers, what would you like to see apart from somebody giving you 2-3 crore rupees?
See, it's not just you're not just enabling one filmmaker when you're giving that money. You're enabling a host of talent who has some hope, right? Because all the collaborators that we had in their own right are also filmmakers. They also want to make their own films, and a lot of us in the past 5-10 years have had the chance to go to film schools, go to FTI, SRFTI. She went to Prague. A lot of people have gone to film schools and they want to come back. They want to come back to Goa. They want to work here. But none of us can. I mean, we also right now have to go to Bombay to sustain, to figure out our bread or whatever, and then if we are lucky, we get money, we can come back here. But so this infusion that we're talking about of capital, that will not just, it's a trickle down. It will reach to many corners. And secondly, what's important is not just infusion of money. There has to be mentorship. There has to be, we should look at other state models and see what works. Kerala government, for example, they host the best film festival in the country. I would say their short film festival is by long terms the best in the country, and that's entirely state funded. They have a separate section for Malayalam cinema. The government actively funds films there, their state corporation, and so we need to look at the kind of mentorship they are giving to younger filmmakers there. So if it's economically costing a lot in terms of giving budgets, why not have mentorships? Why not have tie-ups? So many states have tie-ups in terms of tax. So much tax benefits are there. Like a lot of shootings are happening in MP, UP because these states are giving tax incentives to Bollywood productions. What is happening in Goa? People shoot in Goa, they go back. There's nothing happening for Goan filmmakers here. There's so many productions that come from Bombay. They shoot, they go back. Where is the effort to retain some of this momentum? I think in COVID there was a huge amount of technical infrastructure that had shifted to Goa because of Bombay was closed because of COVID, and Goa was quite open for shooting for everybody. So there was equipment, there were lights, there was talent, all of it was here. None of it exists now. It's all gone back.
We didn't use that opportunity.
We didn't use that opportunity. I mean, I worked on a few ads at that point, and then when I wanted to do my film and I tried to approach them, all of them had gone back to Bombay. I had to get my technical equipment from Bombay. So the additional cost to do that is quite huge. Like for a camera and sound equipment and all that infrastructure had to come down from Bombay. So we have to figure out how to create the entire environment, the ecosystem of viewing as well and making. So the government can have more, like what's notable is you mentioned Vagra, you mentioned Akshay's film. Both of them came out of one competition that was organized by Ravindra Bhavan. So it was, both those films came out of one competition, and those films are traveling. So it's just a matter of opportunity at this point, even not money.
And again, if it's backed by money, then it makes things so much easier. And we are not again talking about lots of money. I would say 10-20 lakh rupees if you put it out, then you can attract so much talent.
No, I think what you said before, like that the audience is also kind of not watching Konkani films, but I think that also has something to do with the kind of films we are making, whatever we're making. And I have personally not watched everything that was made here, but from what I have, I can name 3 good films that were made in the last 10 or 15 years maybe. But I think that is changing now. Because I think our generation, I feel like a lot of people have gone to film schools or have worked with professionals, and they are extremely talented individuals. Like there's Suyash, there is Akshay, there is Sainath, Hiram Kirtani went to FTII, Mukund Shinkre went to VFS. Deep Sawant went to New York Film Academy. There is Mohit Kakodkar, Miran Shah, Siddesh Naik. All these people have gone out. They have gotten education, or they've worked with people who are working in the industry. And I think now we can't say that, oh, but we don't have people who are talented enough. We have the talent now. Now it is just about creating that kind of infrastructure. And like you said, Take 10 had 2 people from Goa. It's a huge percentage. Like 20% of the selection was Goan. So
Top
that
20
is.
also had one more.
Yeah. Top 20 had 3 people. There was Rucha Prabhudesai also. So that says a lot. I think now it is just about kind of encouraging and supporting those who are here. And that math of producing a Konkani film is extremely complicated because of how small Konkani is as a language, and it's a number game ultimately if you have to make the finances work. But again, a good thing is that people are now getting used to watching films with subtitles, and it's just about kind of making the right kind and right quality of content so that it sustains, but I think to kind of start off, some support and some financial assistance especially will really help, I feel.
Yeah, and financial recovery in the initial stages shouldn't be a priority also. I mean, you're basically trying to just get something on its feet first, right? You don't expect a company, if you're starting out immediately, to make profits from day one. You would need it to find its own rhythm first. So for that, you need to let it grow first, let it have its own kind of ecosystem first, and then you can think about the profit making venture. And there are other avenues. I mean, there is film festivals, there are so many other avenues where these films can redeem themselves, if not economically, then at least for the state in terms of representation, in terms of soft capital, right? Where is that? None of that is also existing, right?
Absolutely. And the question here is, then how do you start making the film? If you all come up with a fantastic idea which might have the potential to, become a really great film, how do you start working on it in the first place? So, that support has to come from somewhere. And in this scenario, I don't see anybody, private person, putting in money. That responsibility has to be of the government, which interestingly, earlier they had a different scheme where you could submit your script. The government had a committee which would evaluate the script and give you money. What happened there is people took the money and never made the film. So again, you can't fault the government at that. And the classic example was Paltodso Manis by Lakshmikant Shedgaonkar was rejected. That script was rejected by the committee. And that film went to Toronto International Film Festival and won an award also. And then suddenly everybody woke up that, okay, what is this now? How does this work? That a local script committee says that this script is no good and it goes to an international film festival and wins an award. Then they said, no, script is 70, 80 pages long. Who will read that script? Give us a 3-page synopsis. Now, how come this bright idea didn't come to you before? And how many scripts got rejected in that process, which may not have been Toronto worthy, but could have been a national award film worthy or whatever, could have been worth something. So this is how it functions, and in that process, eventually, that whole scripting went because some people took the money and never made a film and never returned the money also. So then they came up with this idea, okay, first you make the film, then we'll give you 50%. Even if that 50% comes in the next 12 months or so, there is still some chance. But as Prashanti pointed out also, that 2000, she's saying 13, I feel it's 17. Still, in both cases, it's a very long time that if you don't get your money back, then what's the point in putting in money further? And as a result, has anybody seen any Konkani feature film in the theatre lately? Last 3-4 years? Nothing. Which was the last one actually? Even I can't, for all practical purposes, even I can't remember a film which came, not even theatres. So what happens in the theatres, a lot of people don't release it in INOX because there you have to pay entertainment tax. Now, earlier, before GST was there, the state could just write off the entertainment tax. Now with GST coming in, you can only write off 9% of it. Right now, GST is 18% on a cinema ticket, if at all, and that too it has a long procedure. The state can say, okay, we don't want a 9%. You can't tell the center that you won't take your 9%. So if at all, only 9% can be reduced.
The center can decide whichever film they want, they will reduce the GST and everything. And make it
No, actually no. In that case also. So interestingly, there was let's not mention which film, but there was a signboard outside Inox saying that it has been officially declared that XYZ film is tax-free. However, the notification has still not come to us. And even if they make it tax-free, it's only the state that can make it tax-free. So they can, yes, sir.
Today, one Konkani film is released in Markham. They have dubbed it in Hindi also. The name of the movie is Stay.
Okay, it will be interesting to see. Hindi may help them to reach out a wider audience. Many Goan filmmakers make their films in Marathi also, so that again, you can at least release it in Maharashtra. So you have those many more numbers that could possibly, look at your film. But again, coming to this, a lot of people, they don't release it in INOX because there you have to pay entertainment tax. If you release it in Makinis Palace, then you don't need. All your 200 rupees goes to the filmmaker. Good for him. He needs to make money and, somehow recover the money. But again, a lot of it should come from the state, which it doesn't. And for many, many years, it doesn't come. This releasing it in different languages or try, I think personally, I feel we should find our own voices. Dubbing it, a lot of people prefer. For example, Home Sweet Home. I don't know how many of you all have seen part 1, part 2. Part 1 was lovely film about a outsider who drives a taxi and his friendship with a local fellow. It had a local voice. Part 2, he tried to make it like a Bollywood film with a villain and typical villain, the camera will come close to him and dishum, music will come and all that. And that, like you said, like boss, if I can see Bollywood, why would I watch a Goan guy try to be like Bollywood, So it's important for us to find our voices, and I think that was a great initiative by Netflix and Take 10 that tell your local story, And those are working well. Why do so many people watch films from South India nowadays? And especially with Netflix and Amazon and all coming in, I think the language barrier to a large degree is gone. But as Suyash rightly said, the government should at least support it to take it to a level where people know that, okay, Goan films are there. And, right now if you go to a Netflix guy with a Konkani film, he'll say, what is Konkani probably, What is your background? What films have you all made?
One feature film in Kannada was made by a Goan, and it was very good.
I think I know which one you're talking about. It had something to do with drugs, and I don't mean it in a bad way, but I remember that element of it. It was very beautifully shot. I think I've seen that film. He's from Hubli, I think, so if I'm not wrong. Yeah. It's a very nice film. But anyway, if you all have questions, we've thrown across many things. Some pleasant, some yes, Prashant.
The name of the movie was Partha.
I don't have a question, but I want to underline this.
Mics. Prashanti doesn't need a mic.
No, they wanted for recording. Hello. I don't have any question, but I want to underline one fact which Barkha initially said. You said this is a golden period for Goa and Konkani films because youngsters are making. But I also feel it is a golden period for Goa because when during this Netflix, these all youngsters, the way they got together as a team, actually at one level they were competitors, but they said, no, if any one of us get one, all of us are going to be team. I thought it was just a bluff, but actually when it was chosen, I remember, because I used to keep getting this gossip. Either, Barkha was being helped or Suyash was
By
being
your
helped.
daughter.
Huh?
By your daughter.
By my doctor, I got the gossip. But it was quite amazing for me. I mean, that movie making, everything was, for me it was that spirit and the way they did, the way they worked, and I feel that should continue. Then it is really a golden Goa for us.
I'll actually add to that a little bit. It's true that like people need to support, an audience needs to support, and the government needs to support. But I think one thing which is already happening, and this is extremely rare, and I think we should try and protect it, is like the community feeling which is there amongst us, like the younger Goan filmmakers, because like I said, all my friends who had initially we had all competed against each other, were helping me make this film. Rucha, who Prashanti Kaki was very discreetly referring to, was in the top 20, but when I got through into top 10, she was one of my assistant directors, and she was there constantly supporting me and helping me make the film, you know. And there are many more examples. Like Suyash was a gaffer on my graduation film. When Akshay was Hiram, who has studied writing at FTII, he has like no business or no agenda in being a producer on my film, but he produced both my films. Then when Akshay Parvatkar was making like his next short film, Hiram was again producing it, and he asked me if I would be an assistant, and I agreed. And the thing is that of course, like if you're just starting out, you need to help and assist and work on whatever project you can and you want to. But I think like Suyash need not have helped me. He could have very well assisted a very famous cinematographer, worked on a much bigger production. Hiram had no business being my producer. Like there was no need for any of this. They could have done much bigger projects. But I think all of us are helping each other. We're also very honest with each other. And there is that general, I think, understanding that I may not love what you're doing, but you're my fellow, and I will help you and support you, kind of a thing, you know. And I think that is something which is very rare, and we should try and protect it as much as we can.
And it's also the way, if you see the films being made in Kerala are coming out of that exact spirit.
Yeah.
I will act, you direct, you write, I will produce, you will write, I will direct. That's how they're making films right now. And it's only now they're getting noticed. But if you see the time period, they've been doing it since 2012. Right. So it's only 5-10 years later that they started being noticed. But the way they've made their films is that way. It's a community, and they've made it that spirit.
I think it's ultimately the love for cinema, you know, and historically also these stories of, you know, filmmakers who seemingly seem like rivals are being great friends and helping each other, you know. I mean, Kiarostami has written scripts for Panahi, which Panahi has made into a film, although one might think that, you know, they're coming from the same space, they might be rivals. But that's a great thing, I mean, and hopefully it will continue and we'll have more people, and it's just, you know, I hope we can take it to the next level now. We shot films, ho gaya. We now next, you know, big thing, you know, to come out of Goa. And as you can see, there is enough talent, there is enough potential. It's just a matter of filling up those, you know, few vacant spaces which need to be filled up in terms of finally executing and making films.